Very good.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order the Manlius Town Board meeting for September 25th at 2024 at roughly 6:30 p.m. As always, we are running this meeting via Zoom as well as live casting it to Facebook, YouTube, and to our website. If you're interested in joining us via Zoom to participate remotely, the instructions are at the top of each of our agendas. Next up, I would ask Councilor Italiano to lead us in pledge.
Of the United States of America, which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We've got one sign up for podium, Mary Teskey. No questions?
Yes. So, my name's Mary Teskey. I live in the village of Fayetteville, Redfield Ave. So a couple of weeks ago, a gentleman talked at open podium and asked a few questions about the solar array on the town of Manlius stuff. Have you answered his questions? Is that something you can share with the public? It seems like I'm kind of interested in it.
Yeah, so basically, our code enforcement officer has not issued a certificate of, I want to say, completion, because the screening that we agreed to hadn't been done yet. And so we're checking back in with the company doing the leasing from us for the site, because they did have plans to do the screening, and they just never came to fruition. And so what we're doing is we're going back to them, letting them know that we want to see that for the certificate of completion. And there's a little bit of a disagreement about when the first rent payment is due, and so we're going to be talking to them about that as well.
I thought he also said something about that maybe the original company is out of business.
So I think
Did I misunderstand, or is that?
Yeah, so they formed another LLC to.
The same people, or?
It's the same.
Yeah.
So we did check into that, and the lease says that it's as your, as assigns and so whatever.
It's binding on all successors and assigns.
Yeah. So it's still the same umbrella company, it's just, they just moved pieces within it.
Okay, is it up and running? Are they getting power out of
Our
it?
understanding is yes, that it is generating power.
Okay, just was curious.
Yeah. Appreciate
And
it.
then, the Burdick Street project that was just approved by the Manlius, thank you. I'm just curious when they're gonna decide, what the assessment of that is, when, the school tax people will decide how they're gonna tax, and the county. Does anyone have any information about that?
Yeah, so as construction kind of starts and continues throughout, it'll get reassessed every year, just as every other property gets reassessed. I believe the developer and the assessor have had a conversation about rough figures for what the wholly completed project will look like, but that'll be updated every year as every other property for assessments.
And have they've talked to the county and they've kind of had some information on that, or not? I mean, is it the county that decides the assessment value?
No,
or-
so our assessor here in the town.
Your assessor.
Does that assessment.
So everything will be based on your town assessors. So the school taxes will be based on that, because I mean, there's a huge potential for more children. So I hope that when you do your assessment, the town assessor, he will be take that all into consideration, because I'm glad to pay my taxes, I'm glad to pay school taxes, but I do think they need to, whoever they are, pay their share of school taxes for the number of people, so that, you're addressing that with your assessor, and
Yeah.
I don't wanna. Do you have any idea what the whole project will be assessed at in the end?
I don't want to say, I'm not certain. There's a couple different ways to arrive at an assessed value. So the way that most single family homes are assessed is fair market value, what could they sell for?
Right.
And then there's, for some commercial properties, gonna be based on construction cost. or it can be based on the expected income. I believe the model that they're gonna be using for that property is gonna be expected income. So I know they've had some conversations, I don't know exactly what that assessment's gonna work out to, but they're definitely gonna be assessed fairly.
No discounts or whatever.
So they, the OSIDA, the county IDA, has the authority to issue a pilot. We're not part of that decision-making process. And so if they meet the guidelines as per OSIDA, they may receive a pilot, which is a payment in lieu of taxes, which sets a schedule for the project that essentially backs it into paying 100% of its assessed value, or taxes on its assessed value. And I don't know yet as to what the decision is, for OSIDA, if there's any next steps for them as far as a pilot. I would imagine the developer is looking for one. But I also had some conversations with the developer last year about understanding the impacts of a pilot on a residential property. That's something that's fairly new. And so, he has worked with a couple other agencies on essentially an impact analysis for the town. And that's something that we will have presented to us, by the end of the year, at least, I think in one of the upcoming meetings.
Okay.
But so we'll get a presentation from the developer about the impact of that project on our taxes and services, which.
Right, I mean, it's gonna call for increased services all around, you know. You know, the school taxes, it's gonna increase the need for police services there. Not making any judgments on anything, but just, you know,
No,
300
yeah.
more, is it 300 more units or?
310, I believe.
Yeah, so, I mean, 310 units is gonna increase services, lots of traffic going up that road, lots of need for speed control. You know, if there's buses to watch, make sure people are stopping. So my last thing is, last meeting, you went into executive, meeting, and at the end, you came out and voted on something called, I don't know how to say this word, I didn't look up the pronunciation, tax or whatever, can someone tell me?
Certiorari?
Maybe Joe can say.
Joe can say
Certiorari.
that.
So anyway, I'm just curious what that's all about. What's the transparency of that? Can
Yeah.
anybody come and get a, whatever, I mean,
No, so, for, any property that kind of goes through the grievance process, goes through that multiple step process, we can end up with, I want to say it's in Article 7,
I think, yeah, those were articles, I believe those were
Yeah.
articles, seven, yeah.
which is essentially them, the property owner challenging us on the assessed value. And so, those were both settlements that we had reached with those, parties, and it was setting the terms of that settlement. I believe for both of those, you know, we had an assessed value, they had what they assumed was fair. We met somewhere in the middle, and then there's an understanding that that assessment will be there for a number of years based on what was agreed to in the settlement.
so is it residential properties or?
No, these were both commercial properties.
Commercial properties, okay.
So the commercial properties use that Article 7 methodology. A residential property uses a different method, which is basically a hearing with an arbiter who kind of decides things. So the Article 7s are all going to be commercial properties.
So is it, secret which properties it was, or is that something you can tell if you didn't, you know, kind of like you kind of just.
I don't know, is it secret?
It's not, you can disclose what properties they were.
So I don't know them off the top of my head, but what we'll do is we'll make sure we get those posted up on the website somewhere, and, I can.
You don't.
Well, just curious, I mean, does nobody know?
The craftsman, was one of the properties, and I don't remember.
The other one was the senior retirement.
Okay.
Yeah, the luxury.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, I just wanted to have some transparency there, I just didn't understand that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else for open podium?
Anybody?
If you're here via Zoom, please use the raise hand function. Okay. So next up, we did have our deputy town clerk, Debbie Witzel, resign recently. Debbie was with us for about 18 years, served phenomenal service within the clerk's office. Definitely happy to have had her part-time with us for this year. She was a wealth of knowledge, knew where everything was, what happened at this property 16 years ago, and we are very happy for her in her retirement, but we do sorely miss her, and We're gonna be doing everything we can to, you know, fill that gap, but really wanna just say thank you to Debbie for the years of service to the town and just, you know, excellent customer service with residents and just, you know, really a great employee, so we're sad to see her go.
We'll miss her.
Yes, so much should be here.
Okay, next up, we have a public hearing on the property tax cap override. So again, the property tax cap is something that I believe the comptroller sets every year. And essentially, the way that this works is if a town is going to raise taxes more than the tax cap, it has to override the property tax cap for that year. That being said, there are implications of not overriding the tax cap if there are unforeseen expenses during next year's operation, and the budget does go above that 2%. So this is something that I believe we've been doing for probably 10 or more years, ever since this became a thing that we do. Again, this is not the town saying that we are gonna go over the tax cap, this is a just in case. And so that's what this public hearing is about. So, any further discussion? Any questions?
Hearing is next. So I make a motion to waive the reading.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Make a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. So, anybody like to come up and make a comment?
Pleasure speaking. Matthew Denton, I'm a town Manlius. So councilors, supervisors, I'm standing before you this evening asking that you do not override the tax levy limit. The town board has repeatedly used special districts, pensions, and state mandated costs to excuse the need to raise the tax levy. Last year, the board decided to raise the tax levy by 6.5%, increasing the amount of property taxes collected across the town by $1,376,000. This year, the mandated tax levy limit is 2%. This means the town could increase taxes by $450,000 and still be within the limit. Pensions, fire budgets, and costs outside the control of the town board are not increasing beyond this limit. If the tentative budget being proposed exceeds the tax levy limit, it is because this board is choosing to increase taxes on residents. I urge the board to listen to residents who have repeatedly stood at this podium and raised concerns about their assessments and how much our community is being taxed. Please do not override this tax levy limit, and please balance the budget so that no additional taxes are levied from residents. Thank you.
Anyone else, if you're joining us via Zoom, please use the raise hand function.
Nancy, 1,376,000 and what?
Well, where's the numbers in the 2024 budget that you guys gave? It was $1,376,000 then additional numbers.
Okay, thank you.
Just will say, we have received some of the special district costs, and it does actually exceed the tax cap. So even with everything within the town's control, we've already seen, for example, fire budgets and insurance costs have exceeded that tax cap.
I'll be interested to see the budget.
Yeah, absolutely. Seeing no other comments?
There we go. Make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Any further discussion? Entertain a motion.
Motion to enact local law 2024-6, overriding the property tax cap in the town of Manlius for the fiscal year 2025.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. So next up, so just to catch everybody up, when we met last, we set the dates for fire budget public hearings or fire contract public hearings. There was a small issue of us not getting the notice or not having enough time to notice it appropriately. Most things I think are 5 days. These in particular, New York State says 10 days, so we've done those notices and we just need to reschedule those public hearings. So any questions on that?
I noticed, I should have mentioned this before, but I noticed the amount in the vehicle fire contract is different in this notice than it was in the last one.
That was because there was a typo on the
Okay,
first one,
so I
so
wanted
the
to
one
make
that
sure
is
that this one was
in, yeah, the one that's in the one this time is the correct.
It's not a separate deal.
Yeah, no. It should be good to go.
I should have mentioned that before, but just recall it.
Nope, that's okay.
So we just need, 3 motions for those.
So moved,
Motion.
all three.
No, sorry.
One at a time.
Motion to
So
set
moved
the
for
date.
Manila.
We've got that prepared. Oh, can you email Mike the motions?
I got it. Hold on, I got it. Yeah.
All right, go ahead. You gotta do me a favor first.
Motion to set the date for a public hearing regarding it, entering into a district on October 9th, 2024 at 6:33 PM.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
I'll make a motion to set the date for public hearing with entering into a contract with the village of Fayetteville to provide ambulance and fire service for Fayetteville Fire Protection District on October 9th, 2024 at 6:31 PM.
I'll second.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Make a motion to set a date for a public hearing regarding entering into a contract with the village of Manlius to provide ambulance and fire services to the Manlius Fire Protection District on October 9th, 2024 at 6:34 PM.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Looking forward to that meeting. Okay, next up, this is the vibration contract that we had looked at last time. So what we did was we had Vibertech send over the Manlius version of this. And then in talking with Tom Kinsella, we realized that, this, particular version of the contract includes the remote crack gauge monitoring. Those 4 words, I don't know the order exactly. But basically, that is not gonna be covered by the county. Basically, what I would be looking for is, motion to authorize the supervisor for it, but, pending, updates and legal review. We're just waiting on them to send back the contract without the remote monitoring, which that was I believe the total cost was $600 per month for the vibration monitoring. And then, I sent around a communication we have with the county where they made it clear that, they're waiting on a fully executed contract and an invoice to then move that forward and get us reimbursed for that, so.
So the one we're buying is the basement monitoring.
No, the remote vibration
Oh,
monitoring.
we're buying. the-
Yeah, that's what the county was willing to fund, and then, Kinsella Quarries is gonna cover it is the remote crack monitoring and analysis. So that's the one that sits, on someone's foundation and sees
So
if
they
there's
both
any.
cover remote, that's what's confusing.
Yeah.
All right, so I will make a motion to approve the remote vibration monitoring at the one that's $600 a month.
Mhm.
With the understanding that it will be reimbursed by the county, which we do have documentation of.
Pending updates. Pending updates.
Pending updates and we will do.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Abstain.
Okay. Motion carries. Thank you, everybody. So what we'll be doing is I'll be sending that contract and, everything over to the county. And then I will be talking with our, quarry commission to set up the first meeting, which will very likely be a review of the program and an introduction to the engineer that they're lending us for our meeting. So, I will make sure that that gets publicized as soon as we set up a date. Okay, next up, we've got some surplus work. We've got some, oh, hold on. I didn't even bring my tentative budget.
You have to go get it.
I have to go get it. I'll be right back.
Well, perhaps while he's gone, we can accept some sale of surplus vehicles. So William, would you like to tell us about our surplus vehicles?
Sure. We got some old, well-loved and well-used vehicles.
They are well.
This police department. I know we talked about this in previous meetings and what the mileage equals in real terms is not what's reflected on the odometer. But, so I'll just go ahead and read them on chief. So in conjunction with the town of Manlius Police Department General Order 203, fiscal management, chief's recommending the 3 of the former patrol units be auctioned off through Gov Deals, which is a online service, I assume. 2016 black Chevy Tahoe in fair condition with 95,000 miles. 2017 Black Ford Explorer in fair condition with 103,934 miles. Those are rolling miles, yeah. 2017 Ford Gray Taurus in good condition with 70,000 miles. We've already got our first 5,000 revenue that will be applied to account A004 2665 for sale of town equipment in the next few weeks as a result of the recent auction of 3 cars. Hereby requesting that any revenue from these be applied to account A005.3120.412 for vehicle repairs to offset the coverage of overage and expenditures in that account we've already accumulated. So selling off old cars to help maintain newer ones.
Okay. So do you want to make a motion?
Absolutely. Motion to approve the town of Manlius Police Department to declare 3 former patrol vehicles as surplus vehicles to be auctioned via the county auction through Gov Deals.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye.
And
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, so, for everybody that's new and anybody who doesn't know, so the, town law dictates a pretty particular budget schedule. Some towns and cities and counties have different rules, but basically what the town is tied to is that I deliver my tentative budget. So this is what the finance committee has basically been working on for months. I've gone through, with all of our department heads, they've all, presented their budgets. Everyone should have a digital copy of the budget, and I will be following up, or I don't know, did you include the changes doc?
No, I
Okay, so I'll be sending out the changes doc, so what I really wanted to do was, last year we did a really great spreadsheet that said from each phase of the budget what changed. So what I did was anything that was modified in the budgets as presented to us by the department heads, I did change tracking on that, just so that it's easier to understand. But again, while this is the supervisor's tentative budget, this is really the work of the finance committee. So I wanna thank the finance committee for getting us here. And basically, this doesn't include a lot of our normal budget. So this doesn't have special districts. This is probably about a little bit more than half of the budget, I mean, realistically. And so, we didn't, go too deep into revenues, as a lot of that stuff is still outstanding, exactly how we wanna handle all those things, various grants and ARPA and all that different stuff. So with that, I will deliver my tentative budget to the town clerk. So there will be a copy of this, a paper copy of this in the town clerk's office. I have a copy in my office. If anybody needs anything in particular, please reach out to Maria, if you have any questions. And, kind of the plan moving forward, as, you know, the full board prepares the preliminary budget, that's the one that we'll be having a public hearing on, I believe, November 6th.
Yes, for the people.
Use it for election day.
Yeah. So, as we move forward, you know, the board is gonna go in and look at the budget, we're gonna get some more numbers in. This is part of the difficulty is, you know, we may or may not have numbers for a bunch of stuff because of deadlines that, you know, we're trying to imply on some of our partners. But as we move forward, we're gonna continue to track changes. My assistant's going.
I just sent that out.
Oh, awesome, thank you. My assistant's gonna, work on the budget presentation, so that we've got, you know, a easy to understand, digestible way to look at the budget. And again, public hearing on that preliminary budget will be, November 6th. So that would be, so once we have something that's ready to post, we'll post it. And what I'll say too is we'll try to put as much extra like reporting information and summaries so that it's digestible at a couple different levels. We are currently upgrading our accounting software. It's a very much needed upgrade, and we are hopeful that we will have some more dynamic reporting tools to leverage as we do budgets in the future. But we're gonna still be stuck in the past a little bit for this year. But any questions on that? Okay. Next up, Town Manlius Justice Assistance Program Grant Application.
Good evening, folks. Just so our record's clear, my name is David Rothschild. You all, I think most of you know me, but I'm one of our town judges. If you recall, a couple of weeks ago when I appeared before you regarding our proposed budget for the court system, I was extolling the virtues of our court clerks, and that's the reason we're here tonight. I've asked Jan Stanley, one of our clerks, to be here in case you have any questions about the grant process. We have a significant security concern in that our courtroom door does not lock. And it's not an easy fix. We can't just get a locksmith in here to fix it for a couple $100. It's an expensive fix. It's probably gonna cost somewhere in the neighborhood of $5,000 or $6,000. We also need some heavy duty filing cabinets. Our caseload doesn't shrink. We don't have any place to put our old files, or excuse me, we don't have any place to put our new files because we have so many old ones. So we need some heavy duty file cabinets. As somebody who suffers from back problems, I can appreciate the need for ergonomically correct stand-up desks. I know some of the town employees already have those. Thanks to Jan and Jeanette Zacharias, our other court clerk, we're gonna apply for all of these things at absolutely no expense to the town through the Justice Court Assistance Programs through New York State. It's kind of a laborious process. Jan and Jeanette are experts at it. They've saved the town somewhere in the neighborhood of about $60,000 even before this particular application. So we're asking that you approve this resolution. If you have any questions, let me know, or Jan, we're happy to answer them for you.
We have to approve them to apply for the grant.
Well, the town-
Yeah, it's part of the grant process. The town board needs to.
We have to ask for it.
Yeah.
Which we're gonna do.
Which we are gonna.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to clarify, because when people told me that we couldn't put a lock on the courtroom door, I thought, really?
Yeah, so I was thinking,
But there is something funky about the courtroom door, so it is unfortunate that it is expensive, and I appreciate that the assistance program for grant applications allows for repairing a door. I was kind of surprised about that.
It allows, there's some leniency, but it allows for anything that really is a significant contribution to court operations. So,
And that is really cool, because like when we applied for, some grants to do some work, and we couldn't do repair, we could only do replace, so it's great.
yeah, and it's not an easy process. And Jan and Jeanette really, they're spearheaded this. They deserve the credit for it. I know Jan got several estimates for each of the things we're looking for. You know, it's a time-consuming process to have folks come out here and assess the door and come up with solutions. So again, they deserve a tremendous amount of credit.
Is this competitive grants, or is it just basically you've demonstrated the need and you're gonna get it?
Yeah,
From the state council.
Jan, having done this before, knows a lot more about this than I do, but I don't think it's guaranteed just because you ask for it.
So you have to make your case.
Right, yeah, absolutely, and we haven't had a grant for a couple of years, so we've been tending to do these every 2 to 3 years so that we have to be approved. We've been approved for everyone we put in for so far.
Well, congratulations on that. Most of us cannot say that.
do you have enough space to put the filing cabinets?
We do. We don't have a ton of extra
I was gonna
space.
say, that they're bunk desks.
Yeah, there's some,
Have to go in the courtroom.
Yeah, there's
That's
been-
why we want it locked.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
that's just
That and
one of
it's
the
a
reasons.
secure, it needs to be a secure
Right.
place.
Well, best of luck with the application, sounds like you're gonna get it. With that, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the town of Manlius Justice Court to submit a grant application for grant up to the sum of $30,000 from the Justice Court Assistance Program for upgrades.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
All right.
Carries. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thanks, folks.
Thanks for all of your work.
So, next up, we have the Skyridge Water District. We have to do, a seeker
Yeah.
for this, so I'll let you.
So this
You
is
can jump.
Seeker, thank you, Mary. Seeker is the state environmental quality review for the planned refreshment of the water system at Horseshoe Lane, which is called the Skyridge Water Supply District. So the plan is to take the existing water system and replace it with a new water system. The only significant difference is currently there's one large tank and the new plan is 2 small tanks. So it would be the same amount of water, but it would maintain the pressure better for the residents, which is what their quality concern was. So in terms of environmental, the same pipes, the same route of piping is being used. The pumps will just be the same places but upgraded. But there will be a second tank at the second well, which is different from what is now. But I don't believe it represents any kind of significant environmental difference to the operation. So we're now going to go through our questions for.
Sure.
So does anyone at this time want to designate the town of Manlius Town Board as lead agency for purposes of seeker review and also designate the project as an unlisted action?
I would love to be designated the town as lead agency for this unlisted seeker action.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right, I'm gonna read through a series of questions. If I don't hear an answer to the question, I'll assume the answer is no or small impact. Will the proposed action create a material conflict with adopted land use plan or zoning regulation? Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land? Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area? Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway? Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and fail to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities? Will the proposed action impact existing public-private water supplies, public-private wastewater treatment utilities? Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources? Will the proposed action result in an increase in potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health?
So I just want to go back to the public or private water supply. It will change that, but for the better.
Okay.
And now I make a motion to make a negative declaration.
Second.
All those in favor?
It's like a movie today.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
I will say the plan that has come together for Sky Ridge it's been great to work with our engineers on that. We have a fairly small amount of money for a very expensive project, and when we talked to the engineers and said we gotta squeeze every cent out of it, they really put a great project together, so we're really happy about that, and the folks over at Orchard Land are gonna be very happy with the changes. Okay, so next up, we have a contract with Social Media Archive or Archive Social. So basically, this is something that we looked at last year, and we looked at again this year. And basically, what this does is right now, every record we produce gets archived and saved so that we can produce it for a resident, for a lawsuit, for a FOIL request, what have you. And so right now, depending on how you read a lot of the kind of decisions that are made by the courts, social media is a part of our public record. And so what we don't have the capability of doing now is tracking and archiving our social media in a meaningful way. So for example, right now, let's say we make a post about an upcoming project, someone makes a comment on that post, and then they delete that comment after whether or not people have engaged with it. That comment that person is making on our social media is part of the public record, even if they delete it, and it's almost impossible to do this without some third party. And so I know our deputy town clerk had looked quite a bit last year at what options were on the table, and I know our town clerk this year took a look. Archive Social works with our website. It's the same parent company, and this is a pretty small cost to be able to archive every bit of social media, basically. And whether it's for a FOIA request or God forbid a lawsuit one day, this will do a lot to make sure that we're able to respond with everything.
This includes all social media platforms, right? It's not just because, and I just want to sort of address the alternative to just somebody voluntarily saying, oh, I'll download our data from Facebook or whatever. That's not a reliable source to follow through on any controversial issue that might come up.
Do they have I'm just wondering, I don't know what we have now, but do they have like Nextdoor, LinkedIn, or is it just Facebook and Instagram?
They can do all social media.
Yeah.
And we get up to, I think it's 12 or 15 social media accounts.
Yeah, that's great. Sort of like
so-
the rec department, police department.
Yeah.
Right, right. And I did talk to the chief and he sent me over, his guy who does the social media stuff. They're on board, so we're gonna get them on.
Just to know that there's a real-time clock running around this at all times, regardless of what individuals who may have an interest in this may come and go, that there's the service in place. And the invoicing is set up and properly for us to straddle a calendar year, is that right? They divided the billing. up
So
first.
what they did was, originally, they were gonna give us 25% off. They were gonna give us 25% off of a year.
And
If
apply
we
that
did, if
to
we
this
waited,
current
in-
year.
yeah, if we waited until January to start, they were gonna give us 25% off that first year. Instead of,
Instead, we're taking that 25% off for.
and putting it
January
October through December, we just have to pay the one-time $500 setup fee. And that's what we'll pay now.
24. Thank you.
Probably.
So any questions on that?
I'm all for it.
So it's $500 from now until,
January,
just to clarify for everyone else.
Mhm.
$7 now to January, that is the normal fees for the rest of the year.
right,
And that was a 25% discount that we're supposed to get in January.
it's being applied to these 3 months now.
Just, but that seems like a good deal.
I think it's a great deal, and it just gets us covered even quicker.
Any other comments?
Motion to approve the town clerk to enter into agreement with Civic Plus for their social media archive program in the amount of $4,688 for the term of 10/1/2024 through 12/31/2025.
So is that 4,688 plus 500?
Nope, that includes the 500, that's the total from October 1st to December 31st next year.
Okay, I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next up, we, as we were working on the budget, we had $48,000 allocated for a composting pilot. The sponsoring counselor is no longer serving on the board, so that really didn't go anywhere. And also too, it's becoming clearer and clearer, you know, Fayetteville is doing a pilot. It's very likely that if there's success for composting initiative, it's gonna be working with Fayetteville. And so in the budget workshops, it was presented that we were gonna use Avalon as the company to scan a lot of our old documents and things like that. That was something we were looking at budgeting for next year. So given that we have those funds available in this year's budget, we're going to do a budget transfer so that we can get that contract with Avalon spent and to fund the scanners and it's all into records management. And you know, that the scanners are the ones that are very fancy and nice, but it also means they integrate with our software. So it comes as a recommendation not only from Laserfish, but also from Garrett, our IT provider. So any questions on that?
So there's the service and then the scanners.
Yeah.
Got it. So I'll make a motion to approve transfer of 43,000 from A 005.1010.400 town board contractual to A 005.1460.400 records management for the Avalon service to do scanning of the older and larger documents that are difficult to manage.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, motion carries. Then we got the other one for the scanners.
So the motion to approve the transfer of $5,000 from A 005.1010.400 town board contractual to A 005.1460.200. Records management equipment for the purchase of scanners.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. And my understanding is that Avalon's gonna have a contract for us at our next meeting that we will be able to approve.
Oh, no, I have it for you to sign Friday. It's on the website.
Oh,
It was, so I put it on the agenda.
oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the estimate.
Yeah, that was what he had given us. They're doing a retainer for 40,000, so they're gonna come in, take a bunch, scan, figure out what they have, and then they're just gonna keep going, and they're not going over that $40,000.
Yeah, because this is something where, you know, if they open a box or a tube, there could
We don't know what's
be
in it.
7 map, there could be 1 map, and that's where it's kind of working on a retainer. So we should.
So I will amend the motion to, I will add an additional motion to authorize the supervisor to sign the agreement with Avalon for the service that we just moved the money for, up to 49.
Is that good?
Does it need to do review?
Per pending legal review.
Yeah, be good.
Just a thought.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. I will say, I don't often get to walk around the building and deliver good news, but that was probably one of the best so far, was being able to go in and say, hey, you wanna start that scanning early? So thank you to the board for that, I
Yes,
really
thank
appreciate it.
you very
It's-
much.
It's gonna be a big help. It's also gonna remove a lot of those documents out of the planning and development and clerk's office to allow us to,
Make some room.
exactly.
Yes.
So it's gonna be a
That would be
huge,
greatly
huge,
appreciated.
You know, we should find out if we can do the same thing for court, because they are overburdened with
So
paper.
I did talk to
Yeah.
Jan about that. I need to look at the records management Bible and see what we can and can't do.
Mhm.
But I told her, let me get things under control with what we have, and then I would be more than happy to
Because
sit down with
they
them.
are overwhelmed.
Yeah, absolutely. We did this, Jen and I did discuss that.
Okay.
So we've got approval of minutes.
Motion to approve the meeting minutes from September 11, 2024.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Motion to approve abstract number 18 in the amount of $600,673.92.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, anything else before we wrap up?
We could, what,
We'll have a date to share for Wicked Woods.
Wicked Woods is October 19th.
okay.
So, I think, Peggy let us know they sold out, almost instantly for all the houses, so.
They always
We
do.
can, yeah, we can plan for a pretty packed, Wicked Woods this year, so, anything else? Okay,
Motion to adjourn.
all those in favor? Aye,
Aye.
opposed? Okay, motion carries. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good one.